Welcome back to the show, everybody. We got a great one for you this morning. We're going to talk about XRP price. It's climbing, but will it hold? We're going to hear from some of the experts. Traditional investors are changing their tune on Bitcoin. So what gives? Colorado wants crypto for taxes? You know what? That means it's money. So we're going to talk about that. Nebraska opens the floodgates for crypto. Update on the SEC Ripple case. We're going to hear from James K. Filan and Jeremy Hogan. You're going to want all of it. And Ripple going mainstream with the Disruptor 50 list and what it means. And we're going to look at some news that we covered yesterday and over the weekend from Goldman Sachs, which is now not available. Why is that? Let's roll that beautiful intro and find out.
This is Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Subscribe for new content notifications. Now, here's Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. Kryptonairs, the film, is out and it's getting rave reviews all over the place from all over the world, and I couldn't be happier about it. You know, I do have to say that Dustin Planhold and myself took a lot of heat from the trolls out here on Twitter, and as trolls go, they lack the integrity to really own up and fess up and apologize, but that's okay. They're trolls. Who cares? The reality is they're always going to be on the wrong side of history because Kryptonairs is here and it's here for all of you. And it's the donors to the film that were always the patient ones, always supportive. And this film is for you and everyone, even the trolls. So make sure you check it out. Link in the description and let us know if you like it as well. I really am excited about it. Now let's get on to it. This morning we see, let's refresh really quickly here, 1.7 trillion market cap for cryptocurrency collectively. And this is a big deal because we've seen 200 billion plus move back into the market. And you know what? And everything's starting to move a little green again, right? We've been as high as 2.5 trillion plus, and we're at 1.7 now. Bitcoin now back above 40,000. We see Ethereum at 2,800 and working its way up. We see Cardano is back on the move as well, up 22% plus on the 24-hour. Courtesy of the SEC and intimidation tactics and dereliction of duty, we're at the number 6 spot this morning, coming up above Doge for a minute. We're at $1.04 for XRP. We're up 14.41%, 14.41% at $1.04 this morning. So that's important. We're seeing most of the gains recovered in the last 24 hours. Let's look at the range because that's what's important as well. Ranging between 88 cents and $1.06. We're at $1.02 this morning. We're going to talk about a key resistance support line that we need to get above today and see if we can stay above it and keep climbing. So, by the way, just want to remind you, Uphold is back on the board. I'm refreshing, and Kraken is too, and so many other great products here at Link to Private investing made simple, ladies and gentlemen. This stuff doesn't last long. If you're an accredited investor, I would contact them right away and get into the game. Here we go into the news this morning. John E. Deaton says a lot right here, and it does say a lot. This is Stanley Druckenmiller. He says, I do own some Bitcoin and crypto, right? And Paul Tudor Jones says just over 1% of my assets are in Bitcoin. Ray Dalio said yesterday, and we covered it here on the channel, he has some Bitcoin and he'd rather own that than bonds right now. Look, we have said on this channel often that Bitcoin, I see it here being here long term, but there are some changes that are obviously coming for proof of work tokens like Bitcoin. And that is what we need to focus on, is what is happening in the near term as far as regulations go. And I want to remind you of this as a speculative thought. Let's, think of this for a moment. Okay. A couple weeks ago, Chris Larson came out and created a call to action that Bitcoin moved to a proof of work, from proof of work to a proof of stake model. That was the call to action from Chris Larson. The next thing we saw, Anthony Pompliano has a pizza box campaign to start a charity for human rights, which they will give that money that's raised for the human rights charity to developers to work on the Bitcoin network to make it better, which I believe takes it from proof of work to eventually proof of stake, as Chris Larson mentioned. So the question is how do you really get there? How do you really get to that place when developers and miners and things like that are making money with the network the way it works right now? And you're trying to incentivize them by raising money to make the network better and more affordable and cheaper to use and more efficient, which means that whoever's making the money currently would make less. That's a tough putt. Now, I think somehow they're going to get past all of this, and I do believe Bitcoin makes it long-term and all of this. And this is all not financial advice, but my thoughts on the day. And the reality here for me is I have to wonder if the big players, the conventional investors like you're looking at right now, may understand that regulations that come out for proof of work force it to be staked. How about that one? And you could stake it somewhere like the Ledger maybe, right? Or Flare Networks as an F asset. So all of these things are really worth entertaining in my mind. So that's where we're at on this day and this morning. I do want to tell you it gets even better because Colorado Governor Jared Polis wants state residents to be able to pay their state taxes with crypto, and he wants it to happen soon. Well, let me tell you, if you start accepting cryptocurrency for taxes, that is one of the greatest ways to really make the argument that crypto is money. So here we go. The plot thickens, but it gets even better. The first minute tells you all you need to know. The narrative is changing. And that's exactly right. The narrative is changing because, in fact, I want to show you this as well. This is Nebraska really quick before I play you that clip. And they have passed a bill to establish statewide cryptocurrency and digital asset bank framework. It has been signed into law. Shout out to Senator Julie Slama. This is exciting for Nebraska, and it is full on go Nebraska. That's what we're talking about. Listen to this and tell me if Scott Minerd from Guggenheim Partners, which, by the way, Guggenheim Investment Group, allocated north of 15% into cryptocurrency from their more than $2 billion investment fund. Listen to what Scott says here about crypto and the space and the moment we're in.
Do you think it's going to be Bitcoin or Ethereum or Bitcoin and Ethereum? How does it ultimately play out?
That's a tough question. I think Bitcoin and Ethereum will survive. But let's go back to the internet bubble. AOL was the absolute winner. And nobody questioned that. They were the leader. Yahoo was the winner. And so then Google came along and other players came along. And so I think what we're going to find out is there's going to be some new crypto that comes along which can overcome some of the issues that we're facing right now with the cost of mining, all the carbon production, and issues like that. And it'll be a superior form of crypto. And I think that will become the dominant crypto.
Is it?
Now, I tell you, first of all, shout out to Savvy XRP, who's a Hall of Famer. But that's really what you need to know. And what he's describing, I believe, is things like XLM and XRP and tech like that, that's been sitting just under the surface, which anyone who's been in the space for any length of time understands exactly what we're talking about. Scott Minerd is a guy who obviously gets it. Okay. He saw the internet. You see the analogy he made. It's spot on, right? So By the way, where is AOL today? Any AOL holders out here? Raise your hand. Oh, that's right. There isn't any. Okay, looking at this right here. Hello, Forbes. Meet Ripple and XRP, cryptocurrency for banks. And look, I'm not going to go into this article because this is Forbes breaking down a pretty nice, well-done article. I mean, you could take issue with a few small points in it, but the reality is that this is pretty darn interesting because Forbes for years, if you haven't been in this space, Forbes for years has been writing with freelance writers FUD articles about Ripple and XRP. There must be something in the wind. Okay. And there must be something in the water because I can tell you for Forbes to now be writing bullish articles, and obviously it does caveat the SEC lawsuit, but it's probably one of the most bullish articles to come out of Forbes, freelance writer or not. And that to me tells me winds of change are coming, regardless of the lawsuit, which we're about to look at updates in just a second. Here is David Schwartz telling everybody when they talk about Ripple X tokenization will be a key pillar for developers working to enable Internet of Value, building upon existing standards. We're excited to contribute our proposal for enhanced NFT support on the XRP ledger. Building on the standards proposed by the XRP labs and used by developers today, I've proposed functionality that would provide added support for NFTs on the XRP ledger. This is great. And obviously, there's still a lot of people that don't really understand the benefit of NFTs here. Free American Spirit says, I take one kind of piece of tangible art, digitize it so it can be copied thousands of times in a second, and somehow that is more valuable than the original masterpiece. This makes no sense. Please explain why you think NFTs are good. Okay, I'm going to do it very simply here, Free American Spirit. And not to use you as an example, but I think, obviously there's a lot of people that are like yourself that don't understand what NFTs are and how it works. And the reality is, think of records just for a second, right? Think of records and when they press the master reels to make a copy of a record, right? Or a CD, right? The master reels are obviously worth a lot of money because they are the original master reels that the record was recorded on in the studio. But then the records that were pressed were obviously worth, a certain amount of money so they could be sold to people, right? And then that ownership could be represented by you owning the CD or the record, right? That is now coming back in digital form. It's pretty simple. And there's lots of other ways you can make that example too, but that's just one. I think it's the salient points there. So there you go. How long do we XRP holders actually have to wait, says Stephen W. Huber, for an answer to John Deaton's request as to whether he will be allowed to have an oral argument? It's more than a month now. It really is unacceptable that the courts and Judge Netburn and Elisa Torres have not responded to John's request. What in the world is going on? Well, let's take a look at just some of the other news around the case as well while we're here, because James K. Filan, and shout out to you, my friend, he always puts out the best updates here, and he says the SEC filed Ripple's filed its opposition to the SEC's letter motion for discovery conference. Like the SEC's original motion, the opposition was filed under seal, meaning we won't know exactly what this is about until the sealing issue is decided. So there's some stuff going on that we don't know about, right? Hopefully we get to see as much of it as possible. That's what I'm hoping for. Jeremy Hogan says here, in response to Ripple's lobbying efforts from James K. Filan designed to create the market confusion, Ripple now claims as a defense motion and exhibits below. And Jeremy Hogan says the SEC is requesting more depositions and more documents. There's only one reason to do this, he says. Your discovery to date has not given you what you need. And what is most of the further discovery about? Yup, the fair notice defense. That defense sure does make the SEC nervous. He goes on to say down here, for example, Why does the SEC suddenly think post-lawsuit sales of XRP are important? Probably because those sales are the weakest fair notice sales since Ripple had been sued by the SEC already. Is the SEC starting to hedge its bets if it loses on the pre-lawsuit sales? Finally, based on this filing, I'm 90% confident that Garlinghouse Larson have already been deposed, and they must not have given the SEC what it needed, and therefore the lion is hunting for weaker prey. Ooh, Jeremy Hogan is just an amazing cat, isn't he? And then here we see he goes on to say, finally, I'm glad to see that Ripple is going to bring in experts and argue that XRP price doesn't correlate to Ripple's business activities, but instead other cryptocurrencies. I really like that argument as to Section 5 violations. And finally, he says, X3 and resettlement, I still believe most likely time frame is after discovery in August, September, but settlement in a large case like this is a process and often involves applying pressure to get the last thing you want. This filing doesn't mean talks are not in progress. So there you go. That is incredible. So thank you to James K. Filan and Jeremy Hogan for their thoughts on the recent news. Now let's take a look at this because this is pretty remarkable. This is a clip here of mainstream media on CNBC talking about the Disruptor 50 list, and guess who's on it? And listen to what they say Ripple is in their eyes on the Disruptor 50 list.
America, Tala offers microloans in India and elsewhere around the world. Ripple is for global payments.
Ripple is for global payments. Well, isn't that interesting? Making the Disruptor 50 list for the top 50 companies in fintech that are disrupting industries out here. For global payments, Ripple is. If you remember, we covered this Goldman Sachs document that just came out in April over the weekend and yesterday as well. And basically what we showed you in here is that it Goldman Sachs acknowledging that Ripple is in fact a global settlement network, just like they're acknowledging on the Disruptor 50 list on CNBC mainstream news. And then also in this document, we covered the next page, which shows Ripple, the global settlement network, being the global settlement network in front of all G7 banks, which, by the way, those countries happen to be Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, United Kingdom, United States, and representatives from the European Union, in case you didn't know. It's a pretty big deal. But guess what's funny about this, ladies and gentlemen? This is what is really interesting. If you go to this link from Goldman Sachs Asset Management PDF, where I got this link, you can't get it anymore. Look. They know we're talking about it, and they've taken it down. Maybe that's because Ripple is in fact piloting private ledgers for central banks, and it is in fact the global settlement to the world, and it is in fact a global settlement platform for the G7 central banks. And maybe, just maybe, we're going to see some really big things here in the near term, especially once this case with the SEC is wrapped up. I expect to hear from the Treasury after all of this. That is for sure. So now moving on here, let's talk about this from Anders L. Says, seems ODL volume is increasing again. Well, there's nothing but good news for us. Let's use it, baby. It's there. Let's use it, right? All right, and here's our update. Everybody wants to know, is the XRP price climbing? Because it actually is. And will it hold? Well, here's an important couple food for thought here from CoinsKid. If you're not following CoinsKid, I would. And this is what we're looking at right here.
One up, retracement, no impulsive wave. Providing we can continue to march on and break the 55, you will be looking at around about $1.21 XRP token right there, because that's the extension. Okay, that's where it's going to go to, where you will potentially run into a level of resistance and start to see it start to retrace again. And that is good because you'll be making higher lows. Okay, and effectively if we can get up there, we start to make these higher highs. Do you see this? And we're reversing the trend. Do you see this?
Now, he does go on to say, so 121, if we keep moving up above that that EMA there, we're going to be looking at 121. However, he does go on to say that if we don't get above and stay above that EMA line, which is right here, we could see it roll back and touch some of these other places and come back in this area. We could see the 88 cent range and that again, right? So head on a swivel out here, but none of these targets for $2.72, $5 plus, $13.33, $27 XRP, all this is still on the table is the most important aspect to take away from this. That's going to do it for me. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe and leave a comment below. Share with somebody you know and hit that notification bell so you don't miss a thing. Make sure you check out all the links in the description box and the comment section. And most importantly, they are trusted, vetted links. Know what you click on when you're out here on the internet. I'll catch all of you on the next one.